Female empowerment has done wonders for ladies of this century. You become girl bosses. You've decided to take up on only start your own marvelous careers and pursue endeavors outside of the family. But what happens when you work so hard you forget the true meaning and the essence of life, and you find yourself in a position to where now you begin to have regrets of the very movement that gave you your liberating prowess? That's what Melissa Persling has found out in her 38 years of life, as in this video she describes her regret by listening to the feminist movement. Let's go ahead and roll the clip.
For whatever reason, this article really resonated with people, but you know, when I wrote it, I was truly terrified. Like, I wrote a lot of that. It gets me choked up now. I wrote a lot of that article, like, truly scared. Like, I really did think, like, wow, you've missed your opportunity. Like, you are going to be alone. You're not going to have a family. Like, I was really scared when I wrote that. Like, that's exactly how I felt. And when I got comments after that article was published, like I said, there was hundreds of guys emailing me, texting me, LinkedIn messaging me, commenting on the post, saying, you're selfish, you missed out, you know, you could have had all that, you picked your career. I mean, calling me horrible things. I mean, it was awful. I sat in bed reading these comments.
Now, to some degree, the guys that are messaging her are correct. Yeah. In some aspects, she definitely is missing out. Me personally, the way I see it, I think in today's day and age, relationships have been rather corporatized, or they're very transactional. So therefore, they're missing the essence of what relationships are truly about. But understandably so for a lot of men and women out there. When I say women, I mean like sparsely. There are some who genuinely do want to have families, but I think for the rest of them, they have been so caught up in being girl bosses or starting their own endeavors or wanting to live the lives of a man that they've kind of forgotten the true essence of what life is really about, which from a scientific perspective, it's about procreation, right? And creating the next generation. But from a more humanistic perspective, and bear with me here, I think overall, in some degrees, it's something that we're all missing, but especially for women, I think the family unit definitely benefited women. Now, obviously, there's going to be some women that are like, okay, the family unit didn't fare well for them, or maybe they grew up in a household where they seen the dynamics that were, you know, that went awry at some point in time. But if you had the opportunity to live in a holistic family dynamic to where you, your siblings, your mother, your father all got along together, that is the core essence of life. Obviously, you want to have experiences. Obviously, you want to share moments with people outside of that immediate family. But at the core of it all, creating a family and creating that bond and creating a culture, a healthy culture, by the way, which will set up the next generation for success, ultimately, in my opinion, is the core of life and living. I mean, again, we want to have those experiences. We want to be able to share moments with people outside of our immediate family. But having the propensity to create your own family and continue the healthy traditions and cultures and help raise the next generation of human beings before you leave this earth, and in some ways leaving a mark on them, is definitely the essence of this world. However, I think we've gotten so caught up in the corporatization and the consumerism of living, or just our day-to-day lives rather, that we, especially women, because they've gotten caught up in this movement, have forgotten the roots of life itself.
And I was like, oh my God, you know, they're right. You know, and they're not totally right. I don't think I'm a horrible, selfish person for not wanting to have children in my 20s and not wanting, you know, to have children during that marriage. But it did scare me, because a lot of what they were saying, they were like, you've been very selfish your whole life. And that's what I heard over and over again. And that's actually the next thing that I wrote that I think will be coming out soon, is I got all these horrible comments from men telling me I had missed my chance and that I, was a stupid feminist who was focused on myself, which I thought was interesting because, like I said, I don't consider myself a feminist at all. But it did get me thinking, and I did write an article that I think will come out soon about the downfall of living a selfish, me-focused life, And it does, for me, it's definitely started to feel hollow and meaningless. And, it's taken me to this point in my life to realize that that's not a life that's going to bring you happiness.
Absolutely correct. Listen, even as a guy, sometimes, when you're working hard and you're on the grind, you start to think to yourself like, damn, I would love to do this for a family, or I would love to have a family and build and create a community of a nuclear family. We've been so conditioned to think that life is simply about making money, traveling, buying shit, that we, again, have forgotten the essence of what life is all about. Ironically enough, the feminism that was originated back in the day is not the feminism that we see here. Feminism in today's terms is more about sexual liberation and ensuring that women essentially can live the life of a man, which, I gotta be honest, our lives are hard as fuck. Here's my opinion. If I was a woman, the last thing I would want to do is work. Ladies, feel free to reply in the comments, but how did y'all get convinced that working is better than raising a family? Specifically, your own family, with a man that loves you and will pay for your shit. Honestly, why would you want to put yourself through waking up early ass in the morning to go work at a corporate job for 9 to 5, then have to travel back home, then have to do all this extracurricular assignments for work, try to climb the corporate ladder, make sure you have a 401k, try to save for retirement, X, Y, and Z, and all this extra bullshit? Because you don't want a man at home to tell you what to do? Make it make sense. You have a boss at your job who tells you what to do.
And maybe it does for some people. I honestly have a hard time believing that. If I thought I would spend the rest of my life alone, if I didn't think that I would get married and have children, I would be devastated. So, I don't know. It is such a me-focused culture right now. It really is. And I just think a lot of us are missing out, And I certainly have felt like that the last year and a half, and I thank God that I realized it in time, because I don't want to wake up at 60 by myself and go, well, I had a lot of fun. It's like I want to wake up 60 next to the love of my life, raising a family, doing the things that are really important and the things that really matter. I don't think you're going to be on your deathbed one day and look back and go, I wish I went to more parties or spent more, time shopping. It's like...
She's absolutely correct. Ladies, you'll never be happy or find fulfillment in buying shit or consistently getting drunk or, riding the CC, if you know what I'm saying. Unfortunately for y'all, you're put in this predicament as to where you have to now deal with the consequences of being influenced by the women before you, which I think maybe they had your best interest in mind, but unfortunately that's just not the case. So going forward, you really got to look inward and try to figure out what you really want out of this life. There's nothing wrong with wanting a family or wanting to be a stay-at-home mom who's nurturing and takes care of her children. Where's the fault in something like that? At the same time, on the flip side, if at your heart of hearts, you really want to be a girl boss and you really want the life of a 9-to-5 grinder or a wage slave, have at it. But just like she said, you're not going to find true fulfillment and enjoyment in those things. You might wake up at 60 and be upset, or worse yet, have the regret that you never took the time to find someone who is willing to have a loving family with you and go on this journey called life with you as well.
You're going to look back and say, oh my God, like, this person I created with someone I loved, and that's going to be the thing that's meaningful. So I feel unbelievably betrayed by feminism, and I don't want to put it on the movement, because I believe you make your own choices, and everything I've done leading up to this point in my life has been my choice, and that's on me. But when I was a little girl, it was like, and to be fair, I think this partly comes from coming from a divorced family and seeing my mom kind of handle a lot. I mean, I just saw a woman take care of a lot. But I was constantly fed this idea that women can do everything. We don't really need men. Women can have the great career and
What blows my mind is that women constantly shout this out because you're in a position to where men have been able to build and give you the affordability for you to be this comfortable to talk out of your neck this crazy. And that is the honest truth. The only reason why you feel like you can say shit like that is because men have put you in the position for you to be able to say shit like that. It's the same thing with white privilege. Honestly, it really is. The only reason why anyone can complain about fictitious privilege that has been granted by an ethnicity is simply because they're also in a comfortable enough position to where they could feel envy of where someone else is because of the work that they've put in. Now, obviously, that's a topic for another day. We're not going to spend time talking about that. But again, to say that you don't really need men when we are quite literally the backbone of civilization is such a myopic perspective, it's almost scary. And what's even scarier is that how many women believe that sentiment. How? Just imagine 365 days without a single male on this planet. Honestly, do you really think life would be the same? Do you think it would really improve? Really? You've lost the plot. Ladies, you have lost the plot entirely. Smarten up. Come on.
Have the kids that they like and change the tires and do this. I mean, I grew up thinking, and men are great, but like I can do all the same things. Like
Why do you want to?
I do feel in many ways betrayed by that line of thinking. And I got that from so many of the women in my life too. I mean, like I said, I do come from a very traditional family, so I wouldn't say so much from family, but just a lot of like the older women in my life. I kind of want to go back to some of those teachers and coaches and say, what the hell did you mean by that? Because women can't do it all. We can't. Such a lie. I mean,
here's the ultimate lesson. Most women like to keep other women miserable. Ladies, if you're in a great relationship and you're going through some, rocky times with your man, do not tell your single friends, because they will try to keep your ass single too. They would want you out of that relationship, suffering with them, so you could be in the bars and clubs with them, drinking alcohol all day, complaining about men. Meanwhile, you don't have shit else going on with your life. You don't have to follow suit. And as a sidebar, I don't think anyone can blame a movement for their own decisions. This always comes down to the individual themselves. And the choices you make have consequences, as obviously we've all seen in life. But to blame a movement, although I may not support said movement, you can't blame that movement for your own choices. That does not make any sense. So ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think. I definitely have a lot more opinions, some opinions that probably won't be safe for YouTube. But let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.